And Trump declines to release the work of ranking House Intelligence Democrat Adam Schiff. The president's criticizing it as very political.
Well, now it goes back to the Democrats, and they have a chance to revise this.
Schiff firing back, saying this: Mr. President, what you call political are actually called facts.
It was totally a political act. It was disingenuous, and it was inappropriate.
Officers Eric Joring and Anthony Morelli are gunned down. Joring died at the scene just outside Columbus, Ohio. Morelli died in the hospital.
Both officers gave their life in protection of others. Those are true American heroes.
The Olympic sporting action on Saturday. While the focus indeed was on sports, it was also on politics. The influential sister of the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met with South Korean President Moon. Vice President Pan said Saturday there was no daylight between the U.S. and South Korea in their aim to rid the North of its nukes and missiles.
But before that, he was amazing.
And now he's a country music star.
Yeah, he is.
There's many adaptations to life. You're one thing one day, you're another thing another day. Why not?
I agree.
Lady in Red, Rachel Campos stuff. Riff
Not
Jenkins
our
live
Valentine's
from
Day.
Washington, D.C. here in New York City.
Good morning.
Glad to have you both.
Good morning to all of you. Get your coffee. Join us. We got a lot of news today.
It's Sunday morning. Brian Kilmeade always tells you to get dressed. We tell you to stay undressed. Maybe put on a robe if you want, lay on the couch, but don't get out of bed. Just enjoy the morning with us.
Yes,
Be lazy. It's Sunday. Church doesn't start for a few hours. There's no more football. Just kind of be lazy.
But do pay attention, because we have a Fox and Friends weekend Olympic update for you, and that is a youthful political princess from North Korea has solved the crisis on the Korean Peninsula after more than 50 years.
That's not even your
great
word.
news.
Yeah, you
Political
should
princess.
really explain that. That political princess is the words of the American media.
Yes,
to
sarcasm
describe
is
the
right.
dictators. It's not sarcasm. It's what they wrote in the AP.
It is. So the media is just absolutely fawning head over heels over this princess,
Kim Yo-jong,
youthful princess.
sister of Kim Jong-un, 30 years old. There she is right there in the center of your screen. She was part of the North Korean delegation to South Korea. And the media has basically gone wall to wall, infatuated with the fact that she showed up, hasn't been poisoned yet, and knows how to smile. Okay, so here's some headlines from a couple of other so-called news networks. CNN says Kim Jong-un's sister stealing the show at the Winter Olympics. Yahoo saying all swagger and smiles. Kim Jong-un's mysterious sister gets her star turn at the Winter Olympics. So we've got all these athletes who've been training for years and years and years to be on the world stage, and we have to talk about the sister of a dictator?
I love this. Somebody tweeted back to that CNN article. Yes, work it, oppress your people. That crime, get that crime against humanity, girl. I mean, that's the kind of glowing, weird coverage that that they're sending out. And again, they also in this say that she is the Ivanka of North Korea. Wrong on so many levels. Putting those two women on the same page. One is working for paid leave. The other is complicit in really a dictatorship that is murdering its people, starving them. And again, the word complicit used for Ivanka in the Trump administration, why isn't it being used here?
It doesn't even stop there. Already, a representative, a U.S. representative to the Olympic Committee is suggesting that the North Korean, South Korean women's hockey team should receive, wait for it, the Nobel Peace Prize.
Really? Wait, who would deserve it more? Would it be the North and South Korean women's ice hockey team or Barack Obama when they gave it to him before he ever did anything? I'm just asking. But think about the fact that you've got a U.S. representative to the IOC saying give them the Peace Prize because they're skating together on the ice. Do not forget, North Korea is flying under this unified flag with South Korea. But you know what Kim Jong-un wants? He wants a unified Korean peninsula under his rule, under his nukes, to oppress the entire peninsula. There will never be a shared peace. It's such a fallacy.
So why is the media doing this, Pete? Explain, why do you think they're giving this kind of glowing coverage to her?
I think it's because they absolutely hate President Trump's approach to resolving what's going on there. The reality that you can't live in a world where North Korea has nukes and threatens the world with those nukes and coordinates with Iran, frankly, which also wants to threaten the world. So he's used the toughest language, Little Rocket Man, Fire and Fury, to talk about North Korea. And the media hates it. So they want anyone that will fawn. And, of course, the sister of Kim Jong-un goes to the South, invites President Moon, the South Korean president, to come to North Korea. All fine. Fine. Talk all you want. But if you talk and then let North Korea get the ability to deliver nukes, ICBMs to our shores, that's not America first. The president's focused on that. So is Vice President Pence. To their credit, the media wants to hate on him, and that's why they
So
give
is
him
Mike
this credit.
Huckabee, and we had him on earlier, and here's what he had to say about North Korea.
It's the narrative the media must want to paint, but look, the little sister of little Kim still comes from a country where most of the people are starving to death, where repression is extraordinary, and where they kill visitors like they did with the gentleman Warmbier. I mean, that's the sad thing. They haven't changed their ways. They're still an incredibly dangerous country that threatens the peace of the world, and having the sister show up and pretend that she's all fun and games doesn't change a thing in North Korea.
You know, Kim Yo-jong could get the Peace Prize. Defect. Defect to the South and denounce your brother. Then you would be a peace advocate. Otherwise,
that would make, then I would watch the Olympics.
There we go.
I would watch if that happened.
You might be a fan. Now, there's another headline story we've got to get to, and that is a headline in the New York Times. Now, remember, the president sent the Democrat memo back for revision. He chose not to declassify it. Democrats, of course, outraged. The New York Times has this headline out there: pressure from Trump may lead to revision of the Democratic memo. Now, we have heard that President Trump, from the New York Times and from Democrats, that it is the president's fault that he's trying.
New York Times and Democrats are the same thing, Griff.
But
same thing.
Here's what we learn buried deep in the story is it's the FBI and the Department of Justice who is pressuring the president to send this back for revision. It's not the president. It's the DOJ. And let me just read the buried portion of this New York Times article. In a letter to the White House on Friday, top Justice Department and FBI officials said they had law enforcement national security concerns about declassifying parts of the Democratic memo. I covered this story all week, and yet I don't remember any reports coming out that the DOJ and FBI was pressuring for revision.
So it's not Trump that's pressuring for revision. It's the DOJ and the FBI.
And that's why we don't see it as this memo goes back to the Intelligence Committee for the revisions called for by the FBI.
And remember when the Democrats last week, when the Republicans released their memo, said we should do nothing to undermine what the FBI and the DOJ say.
Yes.
They just said, you guys need to change your memo.
Remember the DOJ and FBI said about the Republican memo, the Nunes memo, don't release it. Remember that, and the Democrats went wall to wall on that because it omits facts. Like the DOJ and FBI wanted more context in the Republican memo, not redactions, so they released it. In this memo, DOJ and FBI are saying, you can't release all this.
Right.
Sources and methods, compromising of national security. Mr. President, you have to be responsible and redact this, which is exactly what the president has referred. But again, in the headlines, you don't see it at all. It's President Trump obstructing justice, not being transparent. That's what the so-called mainstream media, which is not mainstream at all, they're all leftists, that's what they will say. In reality, he's being responsible. We'll hear what the Democrats have to say. And ultimately, Rachel, you said this yesterday, none of it contradicts, so we're hearing what Devin Nunes has said, what Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham have said, that the political opponents spotted President Trump using the FISA process to do so. That's a fact, but you turn on another channel, don't do it. But if you turn on another channel, that's all you're going to hear.
So we just saw a tweet come out, by the way. I want to switch topics here, from the president recently, and he said, can we put the tweet up here? Republicans want to fix DACA far more than Democrats do. The Dems had all three branches of government back in 2008, 2011, and they decided not to do anything about DACA. They only want to use it as a campaign issue. Vote Republican. Well, we had an amazing young man on yesterday, Hilario Yanez. He's a dreamer. He came here as a 1-year-old child, and he has made an amazing life here thanks to the opportunities that he's had. He has 2 degrees. He now works for a Fortune 500 company. He is so grateful to Donald Trump for this opportunity and is calling out Democrats.
Not the Democrats? He's grateful to Donald Trump?
No, because he's a smart, I told you, he was smart. He knows who's actually trying to do something for dreamers. Let's hear this clip from Hilario.
Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer really have no clear message, we have been confused. I think at the end of the day, they've been using us as pawns. The second point that I want to bring is that they should have never shut down the government over DACA. We should have never held our American people and our military hostage. There's plenty of time on the table to fix this. March 5th is the deadline, and you can see Republicans already willing to do something about it as we speak. At the end of the day, you're looking at a president that's all about results. I think he needs to meet Democrats in the middle, and he's bringing this pathway to citizenship so that we can actually finally get something done, immigration reform.
Now, this issue is going to take front and center in Washington this week and in the coming weeks because despite Nancy Pelosi's 8-hour soliloquy on the House floor, Paul Ryan has said, look, we're going to do something on DACA. We want to do something on DACA. We'll see what comes of it and what sort of deal can be done. It will be fascinating to see if Democrats continue to just resist from any progress.
Hilario was a very clear thinker, and he pointed out a very important point. If Democrats really cared about DACA recipients, they would have done something about it. When they had the levers of power, and they never did. Instead, they did an executive action which kicked the can down the road. President Trump has to deal with it, and he's made, now, I argue, too generous of an offer, but he's made a very generous offer on immigration deal. And some dreamers are saying, hey, we should thank President Trump.
Right. And I think what Hilario points out is that the Democrats hate Donald Trump more than they want to help the dreamers. And this is the best opportunity for a bipartisan deal that has ever existed. Now's the time. Hilario pointing that out so well yesterday. If you get a chance, go online and check out that interview.
We'll see if those Democrats come to the table.
All right. We now have to get to some headlines, and we have a Fox News alert. A tour of the Grand Canyon turns deadly when a chopper crashes 600 feet to the ground, killing 3 people. Crews still rescuing 4 survivors and treating them on the scene, blaming rough terrain and strong winds from airlifting them to a nearby hospital. 7 people, including the pilot on board, taking off from Las Vegas. It's unclear what caused this fiery crash. Defense Secretary James Mattis is on his way to Rome. Mattis departing just moments ago for talks with senior Italian officials to reaffirm partnerships and alliances in Europe. He then goes to Brussels for a NATO conference, followed by a visit with U.S. troops in Germany. Mattis will wrap up the trip to the Munich Security Conference. Drama in the city. The feud between former co-stars on HBO's hit the show Sex and the City, Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica Parker. Parker shared public condolences to Cattrall after the death of her brother. Cattrall accusing Parker of exploiting her family's loss, writing on Instagram, quote, "I don't need your love and support at this tragic time." And the caption reading, quote, "You are not my friend." Wow. Deep thoughts. And those are your headlines.
Well, I don't know what to say about that. So
I don't know. I didn't watch that show.
The New York Post says stilettos at dawn. That's what you say.
I can't believe it's a headline. It's like the front page.
Enough with Sex in the City. Some Democrats say President Trump's decision to not release their memo proves he has something to hide. But not all Democrats agree. Mark Penn is next.
And the video will give you chills. A student choir fills an entire hotel with the sounds of our national anthem.
Democrats blasting the president's request to revise their FISA rebuttal memo after national security concerns delay its release, calling the president dangerous, desperate, and reckless.
But our next guest, a Democrat and former chief strategist for both Bill and Hillary Clinton's election campaigns, says shame on Democrats for politicizing the investigations. Mark Penn joins us now with more. Mark, good morning. So if you would, lay out, as a Democrat, your response to their reaction of the president's approach to the Democratic memo.
Look, I think in general, we cannot have Democratic facts and Republican facts coming out of investigations. We're going to have one set of facts. So I don't think overly partisan comments from anyone, whether it's the Democrats or Pelosi or the Republicans, make a lot of sense. The public has gotten confused. They don't really hear most of the facts. We can't allow people to play to one base or another. I think that people have got to take the partisanship out of this, and I think that's true of Pelosi and the Democrats and true of the Republicans as well.
But wait, Mark, doesn't Nancy Pelosi get more of the blame here for fueling the problem?
Well, look, today it's Nancy Pelosi, so I think she shouldn't have made that statement. I think this memo has to go through a process with the FBI and the Justice Department. I don't think that process should be politicized, and I think the spotlight's on her. She's turning it to Trump. Trump is turning it back to them. They both reversed their positions in the last 2 days. Wow, how more confused could the public be? We need more adults in this thing making sane, rational comments.
Well, Mark, we got an op-ed in the New York Post that we want to get your comment on. Michael Goodwin, kind of pulling back the layers of Hillary Clinton's deceit, wrote this in an op-ed. I want to get your response. He said,
Sure.
It increasingly appears that the Clinton machine was the secret original source of virtually all the allegations about Trump and Russia that led to the FBI investigation. The Clinton connections are so fundamental that there probably would not have been an FBI investigation without her involvement. So, Mark, to what we've been talking about, is the truth more important, or is it getting at Trump? And how do we get to that truth?
Look, I think we're beginning to learn some things fairly definitely, and I think the Grassley-Graham memo is really quite credible, and it does suggest that this dossier was a key part of this FISA warrant, that Steele seemed to go everywhere. I think Steele created a one-man echo chamber almost everywhere with the media, the FBI, the Department of Justice, that created this whole thing.
And the Clinton campaign.
Well, I think the Clinton campaign, we know, and the DNC paid for it. The chain back to Hillary, again, let's not overstate facts we don't know. Nunes says he's going to investigate that. Let's understand, there's a set of facts we can pretty much agree to, and then everybody would like to take it to Trump, to take it to Hillary. Right now, we know Steele is right at the center of what appears to be completely unverified allegations.
Mark Penn, thank you very much. And interesting you mentioned that Grassley-Graham memo. Not a lot of people covering it, but we are here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Eagles star Malcolm Jenkins, no relation, won't celebrate his team's Super Bowl win at the White House. He says it's not worth his time. Diamond and Silk may have a little something to say about that coming up. And now for your news by the numbers. First, 5. That's how many people arrested after violent protest against a campus event hosted by college Republicans. Police forced to use pepper spray, breaking up the out-of-control crowd at the University of Washington. Next, 17. That's the age of the kid who earned the U.S.'s first gold at the Winter Olympics. Congratulations, Red Gerard took first at the men's snowboarding slopestyle. He's the youngest Olympic snowboarding champ ever. And finally, 9%. That's the chilly drop in ratings the Olympic opening ceremony saw compared to 2014. Nearly 29 million people tuned in compared to the 31 million that watched the Sochi Olympic Games ceremony. The ceremonial coverage on NBC lasting more than 3.5 hours, fueled certainly by Rachel's opposition to...
Yeah, I was going to blame her, but I'm going to credit her for that.
Thank you.
Well done, Rachel. All right. Well, her family holds one of the worst human rights records in the world. But that's not stopping the liberal media from making Kim Jong-un's sister the star of its Olympics coverage.
Headlines like this one. Under fire, the Washington Post claiming the Ivanka Trump of North Korea captivates people in the South.
Social media stars and Trump supporters Diamond and Silk are here. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, thank you for having us.
So we know that Kim Yo has a rap star name, but why is she being treated like a rock star by the media? Isn't she complicit in one of the most brutal regimes on earth right now?
Absolutely. Let us get this straight. She is no princess.
That's right.
What she is she's controlled, she's abused, and she looked like she is suffering from malnutrition. You know, for the left-wing media to even compare Ivanka Trump to this lady is unbeknownst to me. I mean, we just do not get that right there. Ivanka Trump do not abuse people. She is not in some kind of regime, in some kind of dictatorship regime where people are being abused.
That's
so
right.
let us first get that straight. And I find it very offensive for the left-wing media to go after Ivanka Trump like that and compare her to this girl right here.
And since the media is so saturated with her, maybe they should pack their stuff and move to North Korea with her.
Now, you guys call her a princess. Let me just refer that. I read this earlier this morning from the AP. A high-level North Korean delegation led by youthful political princess is expected to head home after a whirlwind 3-day visit in South Korea. I ask you guys, is it irresponsible of the media to call her this political princess when yet there are thousands, countless of thousands, political prisoners being tortured in that country?
It is irresponsible. It is because you are trying to normalize her as if that they're over there eating cherry pie. No, these people are being abused over there.
Yes.
These people don't have food to eat. They don't even have heat to heat their houses.
That's right.
So no, this is a brutal regime. We need to be looking at how we can take and keep nuclear weapons from these people before they try to destroy the United States of America.
That's right.
Well said. Well, we got to get your comments on another topic as well. Many of us watched a great Super Bowl game where the Eagles came out on top, Super Bowl champions. Now, that means they've earned a trip to the White House, but not for Eagles safety Malcolm Jenkins, who said he's not eager to go to the White House. He says visiting the White House isn't worth his time. Listen.
When it comes to this presidency, I'm not very excited about getting my picture taken with him. You know, it's just not worth my time. I'd rather spend my time working with, whoever on these issues that we've been fighting for.
What do you make of him skipping the White House?
You know, it's sad because it is a great honor when you have an invite to the White House.
That's right.
But you have to keep in mind that some of these people like him are still stuck in that Democratic plantation mindset. They're being controlled by the dog whistlers that feed them a narrative, and they continue to bite that narrative. Shame on him that he don't know how to man up and stand up and go talk to the president that can help him with these issues, with the inner and urban cities, with reforming justice, the justice system. But he don't want to do that. Shame on him. Maybe it's time for him to man up and stand up.
That's right.
I just want to tell you, ladies, there is no relation to Griff Jenkins and Malcolm Jenkins, although if Malcolm Jenkins doesn't want to go to the White House, he's welcome to come visit me, and I'll take him over to Walter Reed Medical Center, and we can visit some wounded troops. Might change his perspective.
By the way, Diamond Silk, I'm going to be joining you guys on your Chit Chat tour. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Get your tickets at diamondandsilk.com.
That's right.
Will you promise to pull Rachel up on stage and make her?
Yes, she's going to be up there with us so we can interview her. We're going to have fun.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Good stuff.
Ladies,
thank you very much for joining us. We'll send her your way.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Good to see you this morning.
All right. Woodward and Bernstein are the journalists who broke the Watergate. Now they say President Trump's actions are eerily similar to Nixon's before the Saturday Night Massacre. Really?
And the video will give you chills. A student choir fills an entire hotel with the sound of the national anthem, the moment that will make you even prouder to be an American.
I mean, the anthem itself is beautiful, but you put it in that context, and it's amazing. It's your shot of the morning. More than 650 choir students waking up Louisville hotel guests with their beautiful rendition, as you're hearing, of the Star-Spangled Banner.
Guests erupting into applause for their performance. It's becoming an annual tradition at the hotel for kids participating in the Kentucky Music Educators Association All-State Choir Ensemble.
That is
super cool.
Gorgeous.
Can you imagine waking up to that?
No.
Oh, man, I do. You get
Actually, maybe
goosebumps.
I should make that my new alarm thing.
Yeah, it's better.
Better than getting.
Yeah.
All right, turning now to your headlines. A teacher fighting for her life after catching the deadly flu during one of the worst outbreaks of the virus in years. Christy Whitley is on life support after contracting both strains of the flu 2 weeks ago. Despite getting vaccinated in October after giving birth to her son, the 35-year-old, a special education teacher in central Wisconsin, in central Texas, her family says she was healthy and very active before getting sick. Thousands of men and women in uniform lining the streets during a heavy snowfall to honor a fallen Colorado deputy. The procession escorting 35-year-old El Paso County Sheriff's Deputy Micah Flick. He was shot and killed after struggling with a suspected car thief. Flick leaving behind his wife and their 7-year-old twins. A veteran hospital under fire after putting 56 of our heroes on a secret wait list for eye care. The Omaha World Herald reports that the Norfolk, Nebraska VA was offering a new treatment but lacked the necessary equipment and training. Instead of following rules and putting the wait list in an online database, staff kept names in a folder. VA investigators did not say how many workers were disciplined, but have retrained some of the staff. Those are your headlines.
Hopefully, with the new rules of the VA, whoever's responsible for that could be fired. We've got another headline that caught our eye. As you know, I follow the VA and vets issues very closely, as does this program, Fox and Friends. A headline in the Washington Post caught our eye that said this. It said, the White House targets VA's deputy secretary, so the number 2 at the VA, as a warning shot to the agency's leader. Now, we reached out to the VA and the White House for a statement on this. We have not heard back from either. But the article says that inside the VA, the number 2 has been resisting, his name is Tom Bowman, he's been resisting the president's attempts to give real choice to veterans inside. You know, you can either go to the VA or you can go to a private provider. It was a central plank, that's Tom Bowman on our screen, central plank of what President Trump ran on. Give veterans a choice. If the bureaucracy's not serving you, you can go elsewhere. Well, Secretary Shulkin and others have been fighting to make that happen. The number 2 there, who was appointed in August, has been secretly sort of resisting that, working with veterans groups and Democrats and others to say, let's water down what the president is doing. Let's not make that happen. Well, it looks like the White House is looking to find him a new job, the number 2. And Shulkin is in hot water a little bit, too. I think he's done some great things. But will he go full bore on veterans' choice as well is a big question. This program has covered a lot of it. We want comments from the White House and the VA. So, we'll see where it goes.
Why? Why is this guy Bowman
The swamp
resisting?
is so deep. Veteran service organizations, veterans groups who do a lot of great things, but also they're invested in the way the VA does business currently. They love the VA bureaucracy, the way it exists. So they resist giving veterans a true choice. And they build up a straw man, a fake argument, that if you give a veteran a choice, you're going to privatize the VA and shut it all down. No, President Trump has said, vets deserve the best possible care, either at a VA facility or from a private physician. That's what the VA is attempting to deliver. Mostly Democrats, but some Republicans, including Johnny Isakson, the chairman of the VA committee in the Senate, are resisting that true choice. And so the swamp creatures inside the VA are going to do what they can inside the bureaucracy to fight back. And it's important that we shine light on that. And I was very interested to see this Washington Post piece.
So if he goes, then